Kudos to Georgia. Oklahoma, you had a great season. There's nothing to hang your head about. The better team won last night.
You done? My turn.
Shut Skip it. It's not the end of the world.
I'm going to say one more time. I was born and raised a University of Oklahoma fan. I take my Sooners way more seriously and personally than I take my Dallas Cowboys. Trust me on that. And if you had told me sitting in your chair 24 hours ago that my Sooners would score 48 with 513 total yards on that defense, because that's a good defense.
Very good.
It's talented, and it's smart, and it's senior-laden, and it's extremely well coached. And I told you yesterday that Kirby Smart has instilled a backbone in that defense.
Yeah.
I never sensed when Mark Richt was in charge of that program. That has been the ultimate NFL pipeline. And if you had told me 48 points, 513, if you'd told me that my team would be ahead 31-14 with 6 seconds left in the first half, I would have said, thank you. Congratulations to me. Happy New Year to me.
Yep.
And instead, and I am sick to death, I'm hearing people call this a classic game. It was the farthest thing for me from a classic game. It was a classic collapse of the highest order. I would rather, seriously, I wish I'd lost 60-0 as opposed to the way this unfolded. Because in the first half, Georgia had zero answers for anything Baker Mayfield and company did. Zero answers for Rodney Anderson. I told you he's got some Todd Gurley in him. He ran for 125 in the first half. Baker Mayfield threw for 200 in the first half. Oklahoma went 6 for 8 on third down in the first half. It's hard to score 31 points on anyone, let alone in the first half on Georgia, in the Rose Bowl, with a chance to get to the national championship game. And then, once again, I got Stoops. I got Stoops again. It's been Bob Stoops as the head coach of my Oklahoma Sooners for many years dating back to 1999, but I'm pretty sure that he made some sort of agreement. I will step aside. I'll become an ambassador for the program, but you need to keep my brother, Mike, up in the press box coaching your defense. What there is of it, to your point. And this was the ultimate disaster on defense because, to your point, Jake Fromm played really well for a true freshman. I give it. He's got poise. He looks like he belongs. The moments don't get too big for him. He drove them for the tying touchdown. That was hard to do, man. Yeah. Making one play after another. He's got two high-quality backs behind him, and they all play with discipline and poise. That whole group does. So I hats off to Georgia, and in the end, they were the better football team. But the point is, Jake Fromm is just a true freshman. And the point is, that's not an aerial circus that he is operating.
No.
They mostly run the football. And to your point, they didn't just run it. They ran L.A. freeway runs, right? It was like the 405s over here and the 10s over here and the 605 freeways over here. And they're going 75 yards touchdown, 50 yards touchdown, 38 yards touchdown. And the ultimate indignity was the last play of the game when Sony Michel, he just turns up off the left side, and nobody's home. He had a walk-in touchdown to win the game.
He's looking like, is somebody going to tackle me for real?
You're looking around like,
for real?
Is anybody? Oh, I guess I can just trot in untouched? Really, I'm untouched. I can get to trot in, and the game's over, and we get to play Alabama. Or you didn't know that yet, but they get to play the national championship game. So, do you realize how many big stage, late season, high-stakes games that Bob Stoops inflicted one humiliation and embarrassment after another on me as an OU fan and all OU fans out in Sooner Nation? It was over and over. Let me just hit some of the lowlights, and this was the all-time worst. This was the worst last night. But if we go back to 2004, they're in the Big 12 championship game as the number one ranked team, and they lose to Darren Sproles in Kansas State 35-7 and go on and lose to Nick Saban, LSU, in the Sugar Bowl for the national championship. I don't even know how they got there. Right. Then Matt Leinart does a 55-19 on them in the national championship game in which they were favored. Do you remember the Boise State disaster? Nobody knew who Boise State was. And the Fiesta Bowl, 43-42 in overtime. It's just the ultimate humiliation. West Virginia was still in the Big East and beat Bob Stoops' team in the Fiesta Bowl 48-28. Then Clemson in the Russell Athletic Bowl does a 40-6 on Bob Stoops and turns right around with Deshaun Watson and does a 37-17 on them in the semifinal game with Baker Mayfield. Johnny Manziel does a number on him in the Cotton Bowl. It's 41-13, and he throws for 287 and runs for 229. This is on Mike Stoops' defense. This was the ultimate second half collapse. And I thought the turning point of the game came 6 seconds left in the first half when my kicker, who's pretty good, Seibert, he tries to squib kick it, but he kicks it right to somebody named Tay Crowder, just some backup linebacker, and he makes the catch of the night.
Yeah.
He snags
That's
it.
unbelievable.
It's hard, man,
Yes.
because it's a bullet,
Yes.
right? And all of a sudden, what? Georgia's got the ball 1st and 10 at your 47,
Yeah.
right?
You're taught to get out of the way of that ball.
Sure. Yeah, because it's going to be fumbled.
You don't
city,
want it
right?
to carry them. You don't want it to hit you in rookie
No.
shape, and then
So
they get
somebody,
it.
yeah.
So you get out the way.
I
He
got
caught
it.
it.
He snagged it. And all of a sudden, Jake Fromm hits a 9-yard pass, and the little kicker with the black glasses comes out
And
and
the stash.
bombs it.
You see the stash he had on Joe?
What was that?
You probably got a Volkswagen,
No,
right?
yeah.
You got a van.
But he just bombs it. He bombs it from 55, and it felt like the field tilted in favor of
Yes.
Georgia. And they run up the tunnel to the locker room at halftime, and they run back out, and they clamped down on defense. I don't know in my career if I've ever seen a wilder swing of momentum from first half where you can't stop anything they do to you can stop everything they do. I saw press man. I saw them get up on those receivers, and they're young receivers. They're talented, but they're not physical.
Right.
I saw press man across the board. I saw blitz after blitz. I saw Baker Mayfield with 25% of his throws in the first half under duress, 41% in the second half under duress. And you know what? His draft stock tumbled. I
think
thought,
so?
yeah, I believe. I was extremely disappointed and very concerned for him in the NFL because that's an NFL caliber pass rush they can generate with big, long, strong athletes, tall athletes. He's having a hard time finding it. He couldn't see over people. He's maybe 6 feet tall.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Skip, is that, as you mentioned, they were 6 for 8 in the first half.
Yeah.
They were 1 for 10 in the second half.
In overtime.
And
Yeah,
overtime.
yeah.
But what happened is that you kept them, if you notice, they started getting home some with 4-man pressure. Baker ran himself into some
He
sacks.
did.
And so now it's 2nd and 10, it's 2nd and 12. Now you're coming back, instead of having it 3rd and 3, you got it 3rd and 8. Now we can dictate when you're going to throw the football, because the first half, I thought Lincoln Riley did a great job of run, pass, run, keeping Georgia off balance. Once they got them in a situation where we know we're going to force you to pass the football, now we can tee off on you. They forced Baker also. He started seeing ghosts, Skip, because a lot of times he started throwing the ball. He thought they were going to be there, and they weren't. But give Georgia.
I do. No, they're really good on defense.
Yeah.
They were highly impressive, but as impressive as they were, Bob Stoops' defense was unimpressive. Yeah. It's hard to get back in a shootout with cross-country runs. You just can't do it. I've never seen anybody do it.
I knew Georgia could run the ball, Skip, but I don't believe Kirby Smart thought they would run for 300 plus.
Well, how many handoffs, just straight handoffs, did you see where it's
that
like,
was a direct snap that Sonny Michel scored on.
Yeah,
that was a direct snap.
You could drive an aircraft carrier through that hole, right?
Yeah. That's like a movie set, Skip, when they shut the freeway down.
Yeah.
And it's just wide open. You look at they superimposed it. The hole that Sonny Michel scored the first 75-yard touchdown, Skip.
Yep.
They could fit 9 of his bodies through the hole. So if you line up 9 Sonny Michel side by side, that's how big the hole was. Skip, I get it, but that's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. Listen, Mike Stoops is a good guy. He has to go. If they're going to move forward with this program, you have to get rid of the Stoops factor, as I always call it. And then, by the way, at the end of the game, we get a shot on the sideline of Bob Stoops cheerleading. And when I saw that, I said, I'm dead.
Come on,
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm out.
That man
I
ain't
got no
bad
shot.
luck.
He is. He's always been bad luck. He broke through and won one lucky national championship in 2000 in which they were a 10.5-point underdog to Florida State.
Correct.
They had no business. They had like a overachieving Josh Heupel at quarterback, and he's ridden that one national championship all the way through, disaster after disaster after disaster.
But Skip, they don't, with the exception of TCU, no one really plays defense in the Big 12. They try to outscore you. And what happens is that Oklahoma puts so much pressure on you that you got to match them point for point. You're not beating them 17-14, Skip. So what they do is they put so much pressure on you, they force you into 1, 2 mistakes. So a game that's 14-3 or 14-10, you make one mistake, now it's 17-24. Now you're looking at 24-10, and you're playing an uphill battle, and they get you out of running the football. Give Georgia credit, because even though they fell behind, they stuck to running the football. You see a lot of teams get out of that.
That's just who they are. I don't know how they can do much else. Jake Fromm's a high percentage. He was 20 or 29.
But most of them was hitches and shallow crosses.
He's not bombs away.
No.
He can't get you back in the game like that. So for me, as an Oklahoma fan, you can ask Ernestine this, the whole second half just had an inevitability to it because you could just feel it coming, and it was like slow death. It was like methodical torture. I felt like I was falling off a cliff and I was suspended in midair. I knew I was going to hit the ground hard. I knew it was inevitable, and it just wouldn't come fast enough because I didn't think they could win in overtime, and yet they got miraculously one huge break. They get
jumped off sides?
No, the Caleb Kelly, where he's the best player on my defense, and he went up and blew up Michelle, and he fumbled. And Stephen Parker, who's not a bad safety, he scoops and scores.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, I look up, and wait a second, we're back ahead by 7, and then miraculously, Mike Stoops' defense forces a 3 and out. So Baker Mayfield has the football with 5 minutes left. First and 10 at his 23. And all you got to do is make maybe 2 first downs.
Yeah, 3 first downs would probably make them burn their time.
Okay, but 2 and punt it back to the 15 and make the true freshman go 85 yards for the winning touchdown, because you got to score 7 just to even get to overtime.
Right.
That's going to be impossible. And what do? Baker Mayfield came up small. I got to say, he came up smaller than his 6 feet height. And they go 3 and out, and Seibert, the kicker punter,
he's been shaking them all night, Skip.
But he missed it, and it went 29 yards. And all of a sudden, Georgia's got it first and 10 at his 41. And I'm thinking, well, now they got a shorter field. Now they're going to move, and they did. Boom, 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 boom. Credit to Georgia. But now back to Lincoln Riley. This is why you need to get the Stoops influence out of this program. Let Lincoln Riley go forward. In the second half, to me, Lincoln Riley, who's regarded as one of the better, if not the best play callers in the country, he just tried to out-cute himself. Every big play in the second half, when they were under duress, under fire, you got to make a play, he tries to trick them. He kept sending a message to Kirby Smart, I can't beat you straight up. I got to run trick plays. The one trick play worked at the end of the first half when they had CeeDee Lamb do the reverse pass to Baker Mayfield, and that made it 31. Right. And then the whole second half is trick play, cute, out-cute you. And just line up and do what you do, the way Georgia was. Let Baker Mayfield just drop it back and try to throw it to the tight end. Just do something. Instead, they're trying to run, gizmo, gadget plays.
But that's who they are, Skip. You knew the momentum. Okay, the first half, Oklahoma really had all the momentum. Okay, they gave up that 6 second. The guy snagged it. He ends up throwing a 9-yard pass. They kicked a long field goal. You knew Georgia was going to make a run. The question is, did Oklahoma put enough distance between them and Georgia? Skip, you know there's going to be momentum swing. But normally, like in a regular football game where the momentum goes back and forth, in a game of this magnitude, you're going to get maybe 2, possibly 3 swings.
Yep.
The question is, how much distance and separation have you put between you and the other team? We saw it in the second game, Alabama. You see Alabama got that swing. They go score, boom, and game's over. That's it. They didn't put enough separation, and I agree with you. If Baker's that dude, you can't give Georgia the ball.
You can't give Georgia. Or if you do, and they go score and tie, and you got 55 seconds left, remember what Dak did at Pittsburgh last year with 42 seconds left? They went down the length of the field and
they had 3 timeouts.
3 timeouts. They give them the ball back, and they go nowhere. So if you're that guy, again, you're playing a high-level, high-quality defense that has you on your heels. But do something. And then you got your chance.
What about overtime, Skip? Do you think they should have gone for the touchdown or settled for the field goal? Would you have felt better had they gone for the win?
You can ask Ernestine. I turned to her and said, at this point, just go for it. Just go for it, because I don't know what's left. You've lost momentum. Just go for the quote-unquote kill here.
Right.
And by the way, speaking of that, just a quick thought. Baker Mayfield is who he is. We're going to talk about him a little later in the show, but he did throat slash after Georgia missed the first half field goal.
Right.
And he was trash talking and taunting the whole game, especially in the pregame. And it's just who he is, but I'm okay with it if you can back it up.
Yeah.
And he couldn't back it up. So he's reduced after the game to saying, they won, they can talk. And one of the Georgia players chastised him on the field and said, humble yourself, humble yourself. Well, we'll talk about that a little later, but I think this is just who he is. And as long as he can back it up, I'm good with it. But in the second half, he threw for a grand total of 87 yards and looked overmatched. He just did.
That's not good enough. You're that dude. If you're that dude, Skip, and you got a 14-point lead to start the second half, you got to bring the goods home.
Yeah.
You got to come home with the bags.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, as terrific as those two backs are for Georgia, I swear to you, the best running back on the field is your guy, Rodney Anderson. Mm-hmm. He's a stud, man. He's like 6'2", 235.
Right.
You saw he just dominated. I mean, he had the most yards of anybody on the field.
Skip, you got two scores to play with. So all you got to do is just do what you do.
Get it home, man.
You got to. You got to bring the mail.
It was slow death. That was the most painful night of fandom for me as an Oklahoma fan I've ever experienced.
But Kirby Smart tried to give the game away. I don't know why he bought Swift in the ball game to back up the third string running. Skip, you got Michelle getting 18 yards a carry. You got Chubby getting 14 yards a carry. And you bring a guy off the bench, he missed the hole. If he hits that hole, they stay on the field. I'm like, really, really, Kirby? I mean, you got two guys that's just running up and down the field. They can't. It's like running of the Bulls in Pamplona. And you're going to bring this guy. I get it. He's a high recruit, and you promised him things, but not now. Not now. Chubb's going to be gone next year. Sonny Michel might leave. But come on. Skip, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a team run themselves back into a ball game.
I haven't either against Mike Stoops' defense. Way to go.
No mercy. Baker Mayfield's career at Oklahoma is over after the Sooners lost to Georgia last night. Mayfield accounted for 3 total touchdowns, but he also threw an interception in the loss. He won the Heisman Trophy and is projected by many to be a first-round pick, but he also made headlines for his trash-talking and antics. Let's take a listen to an emotional Mayfield after the game.
Can't believe it's over. It's been a wild ride.
We're joined now by Charlie Weiss. Charlie, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Charlie, did Baker help or hurt his draft stock yesterday?
All right. I have not studied the quarterbacks yet, nor do I have the privy conversations with them at this point. But if I were taking a quarterback, that's who I'm taking.
Still.
That's who I'm taking him above everybody. Wow. And I'm taking him above everybody. Look at the things the negative that you guys all see, I believe with hard coaching, you can get rid of. But you can instill fire in somebody. Either they have it or they don't, and he has it. Okay, he can make every throw. Okay, his intangibles are through the roof. Now, are there negatives there? Yep. But I'd like to see what would happen the first time somebody like me said that in front of the entire offense, just reamed them in front of the entire offense, using every word in the book. See how the cockiness level would go down exponentially, and it would. Okay, I don't think that's happened to him yet. What happens a lot of times with quarterbacks is you baby them. Okay, you quietly correct them, whereas if Shannon makes a mistake, they'll say, hey, you were supposed to do this on this play.
Yeah.
But if a quarterback makes a mistake, you hear the coordinator, well, you're on this play.
Tell me what you're thinking on this play.
So
yeah, what I'm thinking.
well, that's not the way I coached. So if it happened, like if Tommy Brady were to make a mistake, I said, what the hell are you thinking? And the players absolutely love that because they know that you're treating him no differently than you're treating them. I think that doesn't look like that's happened with that young man. Now, maybe it has, but it doesn't look that way. And I think that you get control of you get the outlandish part of the behavior. He's got fire, he's got touch. The number one thing, the most important physical attribute of a quarterback is accuracy. And he's the most accurate of all of them. You watch all those other guys, everyone wants to talk about him. Every time I watch them, they got big numbers, but they don't never fire me up. You know, that doesn't mean I don't like Darnold. That doesn't mean I don't like Rosen. I mean, they don't fire me up when I watch the game. When I watch him, he fires me up. I mean,
He did not fire me up in the second half. He threw for 200 in the first half and looked like he was indefensible. They had no answer for him in the first half, and they had lots of answers for him.
Yeah,
in
but
the
see,
second
you're
half.
blaming it on the quarterback. I don't know what the play calls were. I don't know what they were being asked to do. Okay, too many times I watch a game analytically. I don't watch it just to see what happens. So when I watch things happen, like when they're not throwing the ball in overtime, I'm looking to say, well, I wonder if they called a run-pass option, and because there's too high safety and the numbers in the box were favorable, that's where they ran the ball. Now, conceptually, that's correct. I still want to be throwing it, but conceptually, that's correct. I can't tell you how many times the Patriots go to the line of scrimmage and Tommy sees two high safeties and he's checking from a pass to a run.
Yep.
I mean, it happens all the time. So whereas you're putting it all on number 6, I can't do that without knowing what the circumstances were.
Okay, I hear you. Maybe it's the play caller's, Lincoln Riley's fault. Maybe he's most to blame. But my cause for concern in the second half was it looked like Baker Mayfield shrank to me. He might be 6 feet tall, or he might not quite be 6 feet tall. And he started to shrink in the pocket because he was getting hounded and pounded by an NFL-size pass rush. And the corners and safeties finally just said, you know what? We're going to come up and play press man across the ball because you got a true freshman wideout over here and you got a 165-pound wideout over here named Hollywood, and you have a tight end who's a lumbering tight end. I think he'll play pro football, but he's about 6'5", 6'6", but he can't get off coverage off a safety who can come up and stick him right in the mouth. And all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield had tight windows to force it into instead of receivers just loping free for big scores, which he had in the Big 12 and he had in the first half yesterday. And, man, I was concerned because you gave the Heisman Trophy winner the football with a 7-point lead and 5 minutes left in the game. You got to make a couple of first downs. Or for that matter, with 55 seconds left in the game tied and 3 timeouts, as you point out, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Go make a play. Again, does the play calling shackle him? I don't
Well, I got 2 things to say to that, okay? First of all, as a play caller and designer of plays, you always can get guys open. You can get guys open. I mean, you can get guys, now, you can't get them open 10 times.
Right.
Okay, but you can run bunches. You can run,
Stack the formation.
there's exotics that you can get in to get guys open. You always can get somebody open. Okay, so when people say you can't get them open, if you put 4 people across the field or 5 people across the field and run vertically, you might not get them open because now you're counting on them winning one-on-one. Okay, so you always can get somebody open. So I throw that argument out because I do believe that that's part of the design of a play. Are you counting on guys just winning one-on-one to get open, or are you helping them get open?
Okay.
That's number 1. Number 2, do you like Russell Wilson?